Hello everybody, Benjamin Simons here. I've been wanting to make a video for a while on the topic of how to write a song. Now I understand that calling a video how to write a song could be perceived as being patronising and many other negative sounding adjectives that you can feel free to think for the time being. But let me explain, right? So all I really wanted to do was make a video explaining my processes and how I apply it to my songwriting, so that on the off chance that someone is watching this who maybe sometimes struggles for inspiration or doesn't know where to start, or any host of reasons, if you're new or recently decided to give composing a go or any of that sort of thing, that maybe this could help. And on the flip side, maybe if you're seasoned or experienced, maybe having some insight into what somebody else does, even if in a very small way it changes the way you do something, and that helps, then that's really good. And then there's obviously the other side as well. Maybe everything I say is rubbish to you, and this only goes and confirms that everything you're doing right now is totally right and everything I'm doing is totally wrong. And that's really good too. So as far as I can tell, doing this video is a good idea for everyone involved. So what I've done is I wrote a track fairly recently. It's about 2 minutes 40 long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about. I'll play the song, okay, and then I'm going to talk about how I approached the mere concept of beginning to write the song, and break it down that way bit by bit, so that I can give the idea of what I was thinking about, and we'll go through the whole process. So I'll start off just by running the track off, and we'll talk in a minute. Okay, so there you go. Alright, so let's talk about it from the beginning then, right? So this is just a track. It's not written for anything at all. There's no writing to picture. There was no it's for a trailer or for anything in particular. It's just here's a blank canvas. What shall I write today? So here are the thought processes that I go down before I even start playing anything or doing anything musical. So question one is, what kind of song am I going to write today? Is it going to be, you know, some big epic trailer track? Is it going to be some sort of sci-fi track? Is it going to be slow and emotional? You know, or whatever sort of other genre you could possibly imagine. What are you going to do? And this applies to everything outside of composing or film music or classical or whatever. It can apply to pop. It can apply to rock. Whatever else you want to do. So if you're watching this and you're a rock star, then don't worry, keep watching. It's all good. So yeah, make a decision about what you want to do, and what maybe the theme is. What's the angle? So I was going for something trailery, but with a sort of I wanted to do something that had a sort of the feeling of it being almost classical, but I wanted to apply it to a film trailer sort of vibe. So that was the general idea. And then as I was going down, I was like, oh, maybe it'd be good for like the new Pirates of the Caribbean film. You know, just to let you go, it's no Disney and whoever else. So that was my starting point. So I made the decision what I wanted to do. Great. So next up, what's going to be my focus instrument? What am I going to build my track around? You know, and the decision I made was to start with cello. Actually, I even started with bass, I think. So literally, the first thing I came up with was just the chords that I was going to follow. So I came up with the basic melody here. Then I added in cello on top, which goes about this. Right, so that was my starting point. I started with that very opening section, right? So I got that programmed in. Oh, there's a few things I've missed, right? Okay, so once you decide on what the vibe's going to be and what your lead instrument is going to be, so in my case it was cello and double bass. The next thing is this track going to be high action, fast tempo, all manic? Is it going to be relatively mid-tempo? Is it going to be slow? So I've gone for a relatively mid-paced track, and then it sort of ebbs and flows. It gets a bit faster, it gets a bit faster again, it gets a bit slower, it gets a bit slower. As you can see up here, right? So we got 156, 60, 64, 60, 58. So that was my vibe. So, and the best way to do that is just to bring up the instrument you want to play around with. Get a click going, and then just start playing around until you feel that you found a click tempo you think your track is going to be right for. The brilliant thing with MIDI is, you know, if you get to a point where you've filled out a section, so you've added all the strings you want to add and all that sort of shit, then you can just change tempo and the MIDI will adjust. So that's a great thing about composing with MIDI, right? So I came up with that initial idea there, so the low end, the bass and the cello, and then I knew that I needed some sort of lead line hook to go on the top. So this is when I introduced this high string part here. Looks like that. So it's quite simple, but I felt like it was quite hooky. which is what I wanted. And then underneath those, that basic idea, I added some padded strings. And what else you'll notice is not everything's perfectly in time. Now, there's a couple of reasons why they're not. A is because I've played it in on the keyboard. And let me just point out that although I'm a musician, I've played guitar in a rock metal band for a long time, I'm not a piano player. So my piano playing is awful. And if I was a proper violinist or cello player, then I'm pretty sure my timing will be impeccable. But I do feel that if you're just behind or just ahead when a couple of notes change, then it makes the whole thing sound a little bit more human. And as you can see, I've got drawn, played in modulation, so we've got, you'll be able to feel the track swell. So yeah, so we started off with, I'll add it in as we go, right? So the track started with a basic cello and bass idea. I knew I needed to add something else to that, so I added in some high violin. That's not supposed to be there yet. There we go. And I added in some extra strings underneath like that. And all that's happened there is I wanted it to feel like we're ramping it up a bit as if we're going somewhere. So doubled the pace of the lows here, and I've increased tempo a little bit, and I've bumped up the high section by an octave, and I've also added some extra stuff underneath. So rightly or wrongly, it doesn't really matter. I just do whatever I want. So we got this now. And all that is the higher octave is now panned slightly left and right, and I've got the original octave underneath panned just down the middle again. And then underneath that, there is another little layer here. Quite quiet, it's not the kind of thing you're gonna be like, oh, that makes such a huge difference to my track, because realistically it doesn't, right? So we've got that basic section, and there's quite a lot of shit going on here. So once I had this section, I knew that I didn't really have an intro, so I went back and brought up a nice little sound piano, which is Hybrid 2, and a basic, very soft piano string to give a bit of an introduction, as you've heard. And then, so with this section here, there's a couple of sub drops there, and this next section, it gets pretty big. So let me just strip out, I'll just play all the strings, alright, so we've got a good idea of what actually happened there. I know where I want this out, okay. Right, so this is just all the strings for that section. Cool, alright, so left there. You should notice there was so sort of introducing a lead line there, which comes into play a little bit more strongly later on. And then underneath this nice little string part we have some brass. Although I don't have too much brass right now, and it's something that I would like to get some more of. Is this my basses? Yeah. Oh, no, there we go. So on the brass side, we have nice little build up here. Oh dear, didn't like that, did it? And you'll notice this ties in with my strings. Although right now it's obviously it's more to do with the brass taking the lead for that section. Anyway, I'm digressing somewhat. I didn't want to make a big video. I just wanted to give you a bit of an overview of the process as opposed to how to write an entire song. It's more about how to get started, right? So if we recap, right? What genre am I going to do? In my case, classical infused trailer music, which is big and epic, and all the bits in between, with a bit of a stirring, brooding middle, which I didn't decide I was going to do until I got there. So that's another thing. So we've chosen the genre. What am I going to focus my song around instrument-wise? So I focused mine around double bass and cello, and the first thing I wrote was a bass and cello melody, and then from that I built a whole track around it. What tempo am I gonna write this song at? Set a tempo of playing, ticking away there. Start moving it around and just start jamming out whatever ideas come to mind until you feel like you found a tempo that you are happy to work with, and then just start. Noodle around. I think I had this little idea in my head at work. And I literally, oh, there's nowhere to show anyone, but I've got this idea hummed in my phone. I was at my day job, which, yeah, most of us have. I had the idea, I went to the toilet, I hummed it into my phone, and I came home. I applied it, busted it into Logic, and then built a whole track around it. And that's it, it's just, it's understanding at what point I've taken something too far, or you've taken something too far, when you need to stop and move on to the next section. I'm very much the kind of person that likes to go bit by bit. So, though I mentioned I start with the bass and the cello, I don't do a whole song's worth. I just got this bit down, then I added in the lead line, then I added in some strings, and a couple of subs, and then I knew that once I got that bit down, it was going to go into a much bigger version. So that's when I added in the octave higher, a lead line on the brass and the violin, and a big percussion section, which is made up of a whole bunch of stuff, from a mixture of Spitfire, Albion 2, and Albion 3, and Hybrid 2's Project Alpha. So all of it together sounds like this on its own. And hey, I'm going to give a tip here to anyone who's struggling to master epic percussion. My mistake when I started out trying to get epic percussion was I need more low end, man. I need to have all of my lowest percussion hits. I need everything to be massive. And that's a lie, right? What you want to do is you want to divide up the frequencies. So the intensity and the hard hitting stuff that we actually enjoy the sound of is actually the higher stuff. So that could be high toms, some fine drums, and that's the bulk of the actual high section. And then you want to think about, right, I've got my big aggressive high frequency stuff, and then you want some middle frequency stuff, and you want the big low frequency bits. So we've got, I mean, there's a fair amount. You know what I mean? So it doesn't need to be thundering the whole time. It's just there, and it's doing its job, and it's doing it very well. The other thing you want to do is, if you're struggling to make the track sound fat, you know, because as much as a double bass is low, you know, sometimes you feel like you're missing a little bit of the sub bass. Just use some synths, you know. And a choir, of course. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. If this has been any use for you, I really appreciate you letting me know in the comments, you know, what was it about it that was useful? What can I do in future videos to explain things more clearly? What do you want to know more about? Would you like to see a big, long video broken down an entire track that I've already written, or would you like to see a video where I start a song from scratch and I write a song and then talk my process through as I'm doing it and then upload the whole lot, which is probably about 4 hours long, but I don't mind doing it. Yeah, just let me know how you feel about it. Love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and share this around if you feel like it's been useful. Sorry if I've waffled on. I can't help it. And if you're interested in trying to find the track, I'll put the link in the description. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.